is so windy. If you guys are where you are.
It feels like my house is going to blow over.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
We're live.
We are live. All right. Excellent.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
everybody. Officially, we've only been talking for a few minutes. How are we doing? Everybody doing? Everybody's in various stages of like. Kristen and I started talking offline. She's going completely stir crazy. I'm actually kind of enjoying this. I've decided, and I'm not sure I want to come out of quarantine. How are you guys doing, Tracy and Mike?
I mean, I don't know. It's like the new normal to me. It doesn't bother me as much anymore as it did a couple of weeks ago. I don't know. It's like now I'm settling in and it's scary because I have the opposite effect. When I see like neighbors or anybody else, I get scared and I want to go back into my house. I'm not scared that I'm gonna get the virus. I just don't want to talk to anybody. So I'm like, I think the Flynns are settling the quarantine. I don't think we're ever going to be the same because we are putting in a pool. It's almost done. It was like done in the fall. So I think officially we may put up like 25-foot walls and that'll be it. Because I'm starting to like it now. I hated it. Now I'm starting to like it. Get food delivered, Amazon. I mean, it's unbelievable. This society can, if you open up a few things here, we can function without having to congregate with other people.
Legitimately, if they'll go back to start having sporting events again, I think I'm pretty much all set at that point.
They are NASCAR next week, which I'm busting about.
Well, there's a UFC fight tonight, which I'm going to probably catch some of the free stuff that's on ESPN. I don't know if I'm at the point where I'm willing to pay for it, but that'll be something to watch tonight, Saturday night.
I missed the lawnmower race. I was kind of interested in those when you mentioned that on Twitter last week.
Yeah, ESPN was doing they were doing the Ocho stuff. Like they had seed spitting and all this stuff. And one of them was lawnmower races. And there were there were several stages of lawnmower race. One was like the stock lawnmower. So it's literally guys just driving around on their John Deeres that they bought at Home Depot. But other ones were like 150 horsepower motors. And these things are going like 45 miles an hour. Guys are just wearing like a little crash helmet. Guy rolls his. There was a collision. Guy rolls over, ends up getting stretchered off the course. Like that's some entertainment right there. I could watch that every weekend.
Hey, RJ, when you talk, I feel like I'm getting some sort of like kickback or something. Or is that just me?
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my.
So somebody's got, it sounds like somebody's got the live stream going on their system or something like that, and it's feeding back on itself.
All right, it says Kristen. No, because when she muted, I didn't hear it. Well, anyway, I'm wondering if people watching it may get that. I mean, I got it, but I don't know. If you guys can't hear it, then maybe I'm just going crazy, which makes sense that I am hearing voices. I'd be scary that if I was hearing voices, that it was RJ's voice. I mean, of all the people I can hear, it's going to be your voice. I mean, you want to talk about a nightmare, you know what I mean? At least it could be somebody I'm not used to hearing. So, but yeah, I'm pumped for NASCAR. Actually, I don't know why. I watch it. I had a roommate in college that was very into it, and I kind of got into it. And that's when Rusty Wallace was still racing, and he was like the Miller Lite car. So, I kind of went for the uniform in the car, and I did get into it for a while. And there's actually pretty cool because there's different pools you can bet on you could do a season thing, you could do a race thing, and it's kind of like horse racing, I think. You pick 3 cars and where they finish and stuff. So I'm trying to like get a grassroots support with my neighbors that we can wager on this. And everybody looked at me like I was crazy, but my dad does it all the time. I don't know his connection. I've never seen him watch a race or talk. He's never talked about it, but yet he bets on it all the time in these pools. So I don't know. So I got to find out. But I think they're pretty cool to bet on. I guess it would be like watching a horse race. Put a little something on it, makes it a little bit interesting. And I also feel you could watch 20 laps, go do something, come back and kind of get back to where you were when you left, you know?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly it. It's like, it's like watching golf. I know you're not a golf guy, but it's like watching golf on a Sunday afternoon. It's because like you put it on, you just kind of go about your business. You take a nap, you wake up, you catch up. It's not like you need to be watching that closely the entire time. You just wait for something good to happen and then you check it out.
Wasn't golf coming back next month?
Yeah. Well, they got the Tiger Phil thing coming up in a couple weeks with Brady and Peyton. That ought to be halfway decent.
Is that free or is it pay-per-view?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think they're going to show it like on Turner Sports and stuff, like
Okay.
TBS and TNT and all that. So,
I think it's going to be so boring as what's going to happen? Like, I still think it's going to be super boring. And now you're just going to add two guys that aren't really pro golfers. I mean,
yeah, but you know what? Manning, did you see Manning the other day? Like, he was actually showing some comedy chops. Like, he's busting Brady's balls a little bit. I could see that, because they're not going to take it that seriously, the two of them. I can see them
that's what I'm looking forward
lightening
to.
things up a little bit. Because like the Tiger versus Phil, the first match, I saw some of that and it wasn't particularly entertaining because neither one of them have great personality, but I feel like Manning and Brady will bust balls enough that they might bring a little something out of it.
So are they all in the same foursome?
Yeah.
Is that how it works? Okay.
It's like a 2-on-2 match, I think.
And what is it, like professional and football player type of deal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it best ball?
It'll probably be like the best score for, per team per hole or whatever.
I can't see that being entertaining. I really don't. I just don't. Because Brady's not, I don't think he's that witty and funny and, Manning is, you could tell. He's just, his commercials in Saturday Night Live. He's
funny.
Yeah, he's got good delivery and timing. Like he could be decent and that's not Brady's thing. And the other two are stiffs. So then to me, you're just watching golf. But if you're going to put it on, now's the time. I mean, I would imagine whatever the number normally would be is going to be higher now than it normally would be, because it's something. And Brady and I would think more people will watch because of Brady and Peyton Manning than the other two.
Yeah, totally.
Because they're hoping there's some sort of like you said, how he breaks balls, right? Peyton Manning, but is it going to be some back and forth about, Brady about the games and everything? And I don't know. I feel like they're going to be guarded. They're pretty good with their image. I mean, now if it was like me and like, you're having a cigar and like 3 shots of whiskey and whoops, I didn't mean to say that. Like 4 hours is a long time to be professional. You know what I mean?
See, but you're used to You're used to the New England Brady. This is Tampa Tom Brady.
Oh,
Yeah,
like,
boy.
he's gonna be a totally different guy. Like
So by the 7th hole, he's going to have his shirt off.
yeah.
I saw, did you see that he tweeted, I don't know if it's a tweet or Instagram, I don't know, but it was him and his kids. He was out in the middle of the ocean and everything like that. And I was just like, oh man, like he's got to be thinking like, I know I love winning New England, but in terms of like quality of life and working out in the sun, like I wish I would have done this a few years ago. Because, he did probably take off, but he was under, but remember he used to stay here in the off season, which was great for the team. But, spring and winter in New England is brutal. Like down in Tampa, every day you're out there fishing, golfing, going out in the water. Like he may play another 3 or 4 years. I wouldn't be surprised if they protect him too.
3 or 4 years.
You don't think so? He's got some horses around him, man. Those like Gronk and Howard and receivers, like those are legitimate players. If he's 3 steps and throw, I mean, how hard is that? I mean,
yeah, but like
it's the mental part of it that's hard. The physical part of it, you're okay.
But Gronk, physical part of it may not be okay though. Like the guy's. He's going to be, you've got him playing now until he's 45, 46.
Yeah, why not?
At some point, your arm isn't what it used to be, and he's already there.
He's 43 in August, right? 43?
Yeah,
I'm 45 and I feel like
I know
I'm 20.
I know what it feels
RJ.
like. Oh yeah, just like that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, he signed a 2-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised because
We'll make it to 45.
he doesn't have to, do much around him. And he has skill players that can make things happen for him. And, he doesn't have to be as precise. He doesn't have to be as perfect. I don't think anyway. We'll see how many points he's got to score with that defense and how they're going to be as a team, but why not? Like, I don't think you understand, like when you have like arthritis and you get older, like going in warm weather and being in that type of environment is totally different.
You
And
think
seeing
Gronk's gonna make it the whole season?
What's that?
You think Gronk's gonna make it through the whole season?
No, but he's just a piece of the puzzle. He's not like the main piece. But I could see him playing 2 or 3 years. I mean, Bruce Arians, RJ, he's the coolest daddy-o in the world too. He's not going to grind those guys. He's, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be Jazz Tuesdays, Funk Fridays. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like they're going to come in on a Thursday, and it's going to be some lounge singer and a piano and the lot. I mean, it's going to be a different feel. So that grind is different, as long as they could like soak in that atmosphere of like the weather, dealing with the coach, but then still get focused when they need to be. Like you could thrive in that. And I wouldn't be surprised if it extends his career a little bit, but who knows? It's a long way away. We'll see how it goes. If all of a sudden it's typical Tampa Bay and he's getting thumped and then, maybe he lasts a year. But
see, I bet it's not going to be, if they don't, if they're not going 12-4, 13-3, winning the division, getting a bye, all that, it becomes a bigger grind. I bet you it's not nearly as fun.
They'll win. I mean, Carolina, the Saints, Drew Brees, he's a great quarterback, so overrated, like when it matters. Like he did win the Super Bowl, but like last year's game was all him. He was awful. Brady's he'll walk in the field and those guys will turn into a puddle. I'm telling you, he's gonna do all right down there. He's rejuvenated. And I would imagine he probably saw, Bill just, they're moving on. They won without him. They can do it again. Like, just know, like, God forbid you let your guard down and say, yeah, he's the greatest quarterback of all time. It's tough to deal without him. Like, why is it so hard to say that? It's so hard for him to, like, take a high road or just give some praise. Like, Tom was like over the top praise, to the point like, dude, they didn't want you back. You got to be a little pissed off, but loves the Crafts, loves Bill, but Bill's just kind of like, yeah, we'll be fine. We won with Castle, we won with Brissett, so he does not give an inch, does he?
No. Hey, you know what? What quarterback? Yeah, whoever. We'll just.
But why? Why doesn't he give an inch? I
We'll
don't get the
we
point
always
of that.
do.
Like at some point, what's he, 67 now? To sit there and say like, well, we did it. Like it was what 18 games out of 300. It's like it's a speed bump on your tenure here. You know what I mean? It's like so ridiculous. Just, I mean, and I think the AFC, well, I don't know. I would think the AFC East may be a little bit better this year. I mean, I like Flores down in there. His team plays hard. The Bills could be okay. Well, the Jets are the Jets, but and the Patriots have a tough schedule. So I don't know if it's going to be business as usual. Like, you would think even with the pieces around them, like a 9-7 type of year, but maybe that's 8-8 would be pie in the sky. I don't even know what Vegas is putting them at, but there's a lot of changes. They're turning it over. Like, I don't know how good they're going to be.
Did you watch everybody watch the schedule unveiling this week? I mean,
No.
No. Of course not.
I saw it briefly, but no.
Like I'm desperate. I'm desperate for programming, but not that. But a half hour before the show, the schedules were all out. It's like, what's the point of this again? Why are we watching this?
I'll be totally honest. I didn't even look at the Patriots schedule first. I looked at Tampa's to see when they were going to be in Las Vegas playing the Raiders, because I know that that the Bucks had to go out there to play them. So they're playing them October 25th, Sunday night. And I did look at flights, so
Well, it's good to know you know where your priorities are. You know what I mean? Like, spoken like a true patriot, we're going to
I mean,
suck.
if the Patriots are going to Vegas, then I'd look.
They're
But
not? They're not going to Vegas?
They're playing the Raiders at home.
Oh.
But, yeah.
That's going to be circled on a lot of calendars, that Vegas trip.
Yeah. Book your flights now. You can always.
Because, if
You
you're
can
going
get
to
a
go on a
refund.
weekend,
Yeah. What?
like, I would imagine, like, they're going to do it right in Vegas, like the game day experience. Are they going to have, like, gambling things in the stadium or no? Do you know that? Like sports books
I
and
heard the stadium's kind of like I don't think going to be much of a tailgating scene for her because the parking lot's not going to be that big or something.
how close is it to the strip?
It's not on this. It's like behind Mandalay Bay, but you got to drive there. You can't walk there from.
Oh, you can't?
It's not.
Oh.
I mean, really wanted to, but I don't know.
Well, those casinos are just going to have like shuttles, like on like like it's a subway, the way they go there. But I thought maybe they'd have. I don't think they would have gambling tables, but I would think they'd have a sports book. But maybe it wouldn't be fair to the other teams. If they had a sports book right in the football stadium.
I think that my guess is the NFL came out a couple of months ago and said that they will allow for there to be like mobile betting apps in the stadium in places where it's legal, or like betting lounges. So I'm guessing there will be something like that available, which would definitely
that makes it even more
experience.
Awesome. Yeah, that's even more awesome. Like, like just the fact if you're going on the road to see your team play, so you get to see your team play, and then like every intermission, you can go to the lounge and put something on, whatever it may be. Joe Murray knows better than I do, but right, don't they have like halftime lines? I'm sure they have like third quarter line. I mean, it's probably endless if you're really into it, like they are. So like you could always have something going on. So even if you're in that game watching.
They ought to just have like banks. They ought to just have like around the concourse up near the top of the stadium. They ought to just have like banks of slot machines. Like they
That's what I was thinking. They do it in the airport.
They do it in the airport.
When they had before the Golden Knights came into Vegas and they had like an ECHL low level hockey team there. They actually had that. I think you could go to the game and just play slots and watch the hockey game.
Well, so I would imagine if you buy into it and you're going to be a Vegas fan, you're going to be spending a lot of money in those slot machines because if they stink, which, they, did last year, they have for a while, like what else are you going to do? You're going to get tempted and all you need is one person to hit and then you're going to get hooked. But I didn't know. I mean, I think that I would assume, can you imagine if they had like tables and stuff there too? Like, how much fun would that be? But I didn't know the extent of what they can do because it's Vegas. Everything's in place. Gambling's legal. I would think it'd be stupid not to have sports book something there.
Do you guys know what the starting ticket prices are? Are they like fairly affordable or?
I don't know.
I bet you they're expensive. On par.
See, I would think you'd have to be fairly. I don't know. I would think it would have to be fairly affordable just because it's brand new and it's like, I mean, it's not a huge area. It's like Vegas itself is big, but there's not a lot outside the city as far as like major population, I don't think. So, it's pretty small market in comparison to a lot of NFL markets.
Well, don't you think like these casinos will just buy up a certain amount of tickets so they can hand them out? Guys putting some money down on the slots or on the blackjack. Hey, I got 2 tickets to the Raiders game tomorrow, like I wonder how many they have to buy, or maybe they're just like, screw you, we're not going to buy them. You got to give them to us to get our people there. But you would think they'd buy, at least all the casinos would buy some sort of blocks of them just to have them.
Probably, but that'll just like mean the market will be nothing, right? Because like people will be, I can get tickets for free. Why am I buying tickets? I can go, go get them from a casino, and the fan experience will suck because all those people won't care, right?
Well, the fan experience, that's true. But what does Mark Davis care? If these tickets are getting sold, but if I would think though, random fans though that kind of win, yeah, they may take them and not go. So they may like do well, like selling tickets, but I bet you know, people may not show. Because if you were on the blackjack table, right, you're on a roll, and I don't know, you're a Green Bay Packer fan, and then it's the Vegas Raiders and the Patriots in, and they're like, oh, we're gonna give you 2 free tickets, right? And you wake up Sunday morning, you're hungover as hell, like, and it's like a 1 o'clock game, you're gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna go, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing for you. Like, what do you care? Like, oh, I'd rather get up.
You just described my college experience.
Yeah,
like waking up at like 11:30 and it's like, we got a noon kickoff. I'm not sure I'm gonna make that game.
Well, it's easier to watch it on TV than actually to get in some shuttle and go over there, you know? You're like, no, I'm gonna go get my free brunch, right? I'm gonna walk through the line and then I'm gonna hit the tables again. Like, why am I gonna, or I'll go to the sports book. I don't know. I still think I feel at some point over the next, you know, how many years it takes to filter out, but I don't know. I'm wondering if, like, at some point you're right, there is no home base. Like, every team that travels here, if that place seats 75,000 people, right? Even if you sell like 20,000 tickets to opposing fan bases, right? That's still 50,000 that you got to account for, like, every game. And I don't see it out there. Like, it just, you know, it's all transplants, and it doesn't seem like it'd be that great of like a pro sports venue.
But if you're coming from a city that you wouldn't normally be able to go to a game and you were out there and it was affordable, you'd probably have more people going because A, they're there, and B, they can go if they could afford the tickets.
Maybe, but I feel like football games too could be a real pain in the ass. And if it's true where it's harder to get there and the tailgating's not going to be that great, then what's the point? So then you're going there just to kind of go to the game. I think in general, not just Vegas, but I think football teams in general, like, will struggle with that moving forward. And not because of coronavirus, but just because, like, you go to a game, like, if your ticket's $250, like, when you go to a game, like, that's starting point, you know. By the time you go to the beers and parking and any food, and then the aggravation of driving, get all the it's like a lot of work, you know what I mean? So that may work every now and then for people out there, but to consistently do that, I mean, you got to, like, it's got to be in your blood. Like, New England fans, like, the last 20 years, it's got to be, like, passed down from me, you know, my dad, my kids, so that it's like part of your lifestyle. Like, out there, you just going to throw it on me, and a bunch of people in Vegas are going to be like, yeah, I'll go once, but then I'm like, $200 for the ticket, and then, you know, I can't really tailgate, so now I got to buy beers in the stadium, like, you know, because the beers in the stadium aren't going to be like the casino ones where you can play slots.
You get it for free.
Drinks, you know?
Free beer.
Now, if that was the case,
now that would improve the game day experience for everybody.
That's free beers.
Complimentary cocktails. Come to the game.
Well, I know if that was me and my friends, we would never watch the game. We would just keep getting in line for free beers, you know. But still, at least we're in the stadium.
Mhm.
But I'd be interested to go. I would think that it's going to look awesome at first. And then night games, if you could see, like, the strip from the, you know, the stadium and stuff, I would think it'd be pretty cool, but I don't know how it sustains itself.
Kristen, you go to Vegas all the time, right?
I wouldn't say all the time, but I mean, I've been there. The first time I went was 2014, so I've been 9 times since.
That's a lot. I mean, that's 9 times in like 5 minutes.
It's not like we're in LA and it takes like 20 minutes to get there. I mean,
I've been on like 2 vacations the last 10 freaking years, and you've gone to Vegas 9 times. I've been to Vegas twice. I'll never go back again. It's just not healthy. You know, you're up all night drinking.
I'm not up all night, honestly. I don't stay up late.
Well, maybe
it's
9 times.
It's more of like a day drinking type thing. And I do go to bed reasonably, like, by midnight. Okay, like, I don't need to be out until 6 in the morning.
Well, nobody says you need to be out to 6 in the morning. It kind of comes with the territory. So you know, Vegas really. 9 times in the last 5 or 6 years. It's a lot of, you know, that gives you a good feel for the place.
But then also, like, 2 of those times were for work. So, like 7.
You do have a lot of conventions out there. I wonder, like, a lot of places will tie into that too. But like you said, though, like, they may, but I guess if you're the owner, who really cares? Like they may make money. Well, they're going to make money, but I mean, like game day, like money hand over fist, but it's going to be such fake money. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, this convention's in, right? And we're busing, 400 people over to the game, and then the next week it's like, the kitchen utensil, convention, and we're busing over 1,000 people. Like, it's like, it's great and all. They're going to drink and, maybe make fools of themselves, but they're not really going to care about the game, which doesn't feed into the atmosphere.
No, it's going to wind up being like, if you've been to a Super Bowl, it'll be like that, where half the people in the crowd are just kind of there for the experience. They don't really care one way or the other who wins. And then part of it's also going to be like the Chargers, where you're just going to have a whole bunch of fans from the road are going to, because everybody's going to go. It's like Tracy's looking at, when are the Bucks playing there? So like when the Patriots play in Vegas, like it's going to be like when the Patriots go to Miami in December. It's like everybody in New England is going to fly down for that game. Everybody here is going to fly to Vegas to go see the Patriots play in person.
I'll say too. So I went to Vegas when the Bruins were playing out there the first time a couple years ago. And the experience there was pretty cool because where the arena is located, it's, at the T-Mobile Arena there. So it's on the strip. And before the game, everyone's outside because it's, 70 degrees out. There's like, all the restaurants and bars are open. People are drinking outside, playing games, and they have it's pretty cool. And then you can just like go in, and the beers weren't that expensive. You get they had the tall boys, and they're like maybe $8, like tall, it's kind of reasonable, to be honest.
It's kind of like that in Nashville where the Predators are, because the arena's right down on Broadway, and you can just literally walk right across the street.
Yeah, it's nice. Everyone just outside before, and then they go in.
That's what I didn't know where. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't been to Vegas a lot, but I didn't know if it was like right near the strip, the stadium. Like, then that would be awesome.
Yeah, no.
Because then you would just, but then that has its own problems, right? Because if I'm at the casino and I gamble or I'm doing something and the game's at 1, like I could totally see me being in there at 10:01 and I just got a free drink. I'm like, oh, I'll be right there. You know what I mean? Like I'll meet you in the game. Like that's going to happen too.
Yeah.
So, I guess so this way, it's probably going to suck. It'll be interesting. I think the only thing that may sustain it for a little while is like these fans from different teams come, they'll probably be in there cheering, but then it's going to suck if you're playing for the Raiders. Because I don't care how good they are. It's not going to be, they're not overtaking that stadium. It's not going to be like Raider Nation there. It's just not.
Tracy, what have you been buying? You said something on our chat about impulse buying. You keeping yourself busy by spending money?
I have been, and I shouldn't be doing it, but I bought a fire pit.
That's
nice. Quality purchase.
It was very, very, my neighbors have one, and I was like, well, I'm already stuck inside. So this summer we can't probably go anywhere with many people. So we might as well sit outside. And then I don't know if it was a coincidental thing, but our fire department posted on their Facebook page. They've been getting a lot of questions about fire pits, and come to find out they're illegal in my town, but they won't give you a ticket. They'll just tell you to, if they get complaints, they'll just tell you to extinguish it. I bought a patio set, so it's going to be comfortable to sit outside, and a bunch of citronella candles. So if there are bugs this summer, then we won't get mosquito bites. And a giant stainless steel drink cooler, so I can put ice in it and have all my drinks outside, so I don't have to go inside.
That's a need. That's not an impulse buy. That was a necessity.
That was the first thing I bought, and then I'm like, oh well, we need a fire pit, and then now we need chairs to go to the fire pit.
You need
so
to
for
know
the fire pit. So Tracy, for the fire pit, I was told the same thing in my town, that you're not supposed to have like a fire outside, but if it's for cooking, it's allowed. So they said basically just like have a thing of marshmallows available at any given time, and that counts. Like we're just firing this up so we can cook on it. That's all.
I would assume you can't have a fire pit wide because it's the proximity to your neighbors. Is that the reasoning?
It's like a town ordinance because they're worried about people burning shit down, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, I know that's the reasoning, but I didn't know if it's like, their thing was because you have to be X amount from, the house. Like I know in my town you can have them, but they just need to be a certain distance away from your house. But those candles aren't going to work, by the way. Nothing stops the bugs. That's one thing you'll realize.
Well, that was
Nothing
only
stops the
$7.
bugs. It
If
just
I'm out
doesn't.
$7, that's all right. The fire
Nothing.
pit better work.
The spray, my neighbors get nothing
I can't
stops
see
the
the spray,
bugs. It's
no.
unbelievable. It's unstoppable. A sweatshirt and like netting are the only thing that stop bugs. Like New England bugs are the worst.
Well,
Yeah, I can be like out on the back deck, like head to toe, sweatpants, tight, like sweatpants on, socks up to my knees, like covered, hood on, and I'll still get eaten alive. Like it's
Smoke works though.
bad.
So when you have your fire pit going,
oh,
when
my
smoke
fire
comes
pit's going.
yeah, so the smoke does help. But then you're chalking down a little bit of smoke with the fire, but
I think it's such a good trade-off because bug bites are the worst.
Mhm.
Plus now they have like killer hornets coming and maybe they're going to have like murder
Oh,
mosquitoes.
geez,
I
that's
mean, who
not-
knows?
I'm going to tell you something right now. When I was a kid, okay, there was this report, and it scarred me even to this day, about killer bees coming up from Mexico and how they infiltrated like Southern California. And I was this little kid. I was scared to death. I mean, literally, about killer bees, because I had this vision that they're just going to come up in swarms, like and sting you to death and everything like that. And it was the biggest, like, so that was 30 years ago, no, 40, like whatever it was. Like I was scared to death about the killer bees. Nothing happens. These hornets, it's just a headline that they can get.
Yeah.
And they're out on the West Coast. By
Well,
the
they're in
time
Seattle, so it'll take them a couple
There's-
like year to get
they'll
here.
never get here. They got to go all the way to the Midwest and the cold. Forget that. It ain't happening.
No.
But do you guys remember killer bees? Like that's a little bit, I'm a little bit older than all of you, some a little bit more, but like when I was a kid, it was killer bees. And but I was so scared because I didn't realize they probably just meant, well, yeah, if you step on a nest of 1,000 of them, they could kill you. Well, yeah, no shit, And then there's like killer bees, they kill regular bees kind of, I guess. But I mean, it's just another thing like to scare us, right? Like we don't have enough to worry about. Like, let's go. Oh yeah, now we're going to talk about killer hornets and stuff. Like, oh, they're 2 inches long.
Well,
Like if anything, they're
have
easier
you
to
seen
hit.
video of those things in action though?
No,
Have you
No.
seen the video of those things? Like
No.
taking down they take down a hive in like 10 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
few of them show up, they start ripping off heads, like carrying out bodies.
It's like your hostile environment show, Flynn.
bee
Oh, yeah,
bee
that-
bloodbath. It's
That will probably be an episode of season 2. Killer hornets.
Right.
Not worried about that.
Not in the middle of a pandemic. That's what you're going to throw at me? Killer hornets. I mean, geez, I'll walk right out and just with a friggin' hat on it. I'll put a hockey mask on and take out a few. It's
Flynn,
just something else.
how about that thing I sent you this week about Richard Dreyfuss was almost the star of Total Recall? I've never heard this story before,
I saw it.
but I came across this thing, and it's like, things that you never knew about Total Recall. And apparently Total Recall was one of these movies that was in the works for like 20 years that just kind of kept getting passed around. And at one point, the guy who was signed on to direct the movie was dead set that he wanted kind of like an everyman. He didn't want a hero, like an action star. He wanted an everyman. So naturally, it's Richard Dreyfuss that he would
Dreyfuss
go
is an
to.
everyman.
He's like just a regular guy working an office job, and he's going to go to Mars, and he's going to be the action star of the 90s. Like Dreyfuss, man, of all people.
I think the story would have took a different turn. I don't think. I think Schwarzenegger was the good choice.
You think Dreyfuss would have been married to Sharon Stone in that movie? Like,
oh come on! So Sharon Stone's marrying the everyman? Get out of here, Dreyfuss. Unless he's like uber rich, but now he's got. We can all agree he's got the acting chops to handle that role. I don't want to diminish Richard Dreyfuss, but. When did that movie come out? Was it like 86? Like Dreyfuss was in the game. Like
that was a little later.
Was it like 90 maybe?
I think when he was attached to it, it was probably maybe mid 80s ish.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, there was a time that Dreyfus was the
90
man.
was when the Schwarzenegger version came out.
I mean, he was in Jaws, he was in Close Encounters, on and on and on. So like, I could see like, if you're looking for every man, you'd be like, well, Dreyfus is a good draw, but it would have been ridiculous because now that you know Total Recall, you're like, what? Like, that's the badass.
Like that's a whole. There's like a whole alternate reality where like time shifted. Like there's a separate alternate reality where Richard Dreyfuss starred in that movie and Schwarzenegger never made it, and like Dreyfus went on to become the governor of California instead, and like just all spun off from there.
You see so many movies, right? When you get like behind the scenes where this person like turned it down or they wanted this person, and usually you hear these stories about successful movies or something like that, right? And you always say to yourself like, what? Like, how could that possibly be? But every once in a while, they're like kind of like good actors that they thought of the role, which makes it a little bit more interesting because it's like, wow, would go off in a totally different direction. But Dreyfus in that would be ridiculous. Like, I didn't know Dreyfus was considered like an everyman. So he just wanted some normal guy, like, but I mean, I'm sure there's tons of movies you hear those stories where it's like an iconic like role. And
well,
the
wasn't
person
it,
that turns it down.
In I think it was Back to the Future where they actually started filming before Michael J. Fox got hired for that. Wow. They started filming it with Eric Stoltz.
That was Stoltz.
They did like a week or two, and they're like, this isn't right, and they fired him, and they brought in Michael J. Fox, and totally, imagine that franchise could have had Eric Stoltz attached to it. I
like Stoltz though. Like he's in if you've seen him in some movies, I mean, Pulp Fiction being one of them, like he's awesome. But like, yeah, Back to the Future, it didn't seem like it would work. That wouldn't have got to part 2 if it wasn't for like Michael J. Fox. But sometimes they're like legitimate, like, well, Stoltz is an easy one, but yeah, you hear that stories all the time and you think like, oh man, can you imagine if this person was in it? It would be horrific. And then there's that person too that like says no, and it becomes a mega hit. Like Stoltz got canned, like he just wasn't what they wanted. But there are people that legitimately say, no, I don't want to do it. It's not, I don't want to, I'm busy, or like, I don't like the project, and it's like huge. Like that's the one that's got to like kill you, or like a band member that quits the band before they like,
20 years later, somebody brings up that movie that you could have been in, and son of a bitch.
It's like, somebody starts a company and you miss out on, maybe you still build a nice, like a nice future. You start your own company, but like you say no to that rock band that hits it or become a movie star, like that is hard to do. And when you're like, oh, like I forget I forget what band, there's like, I was reading a book about a band that had that. I can't remember. Well, anyway, it was best. The point that's funny is they asked the guy, like, oh, hey, you quit the band, and he's so full of shit. He's like, well, at the time it wasn't the direction I wanted to go in. I'm like, oh, stop. Like, since when is it you worried about what direction it goes in, right? You're the bass player. Let's go there and play the bass.
Play the bass.
It usually usually happens to drummers. Like the drummers are the ones that always like, Pearl Jam had different drummers. I mean, the Beatles had a different drummer before Ringo's. Like, can you imagine you're the drummer for the Beatles, and right before they hit, they bump you for Ringo Starr? Like, that's a big miss.
Yeah, but you know what? At the time, like, you're probably a little pissed off, but you're like, whatever, I'll find another band. And then it's like 5 years later, and it's like,
yeah, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt though. Like,
no, but imagine like how much it hurts down the road when they do hit. It's like, yeah, they're still playing clubs at that point when they dumped him. It's like, it's no big deal. I'll just hook up with another band. And then it's like albums start pumping out and like guys are touring the world. It's like, shit, I missed out.
But it's like, it's one thing if you missed out on being the drummer for Wasp or something like that. I mean, a career, but nothing, but you miss out on being the drummer for the Beatles. I mean, you want to talk about I mean, being in the Beatles is your life. Like, you don't get to do anything but tell stories, and you're making $1 million a year. You know, so that's I find that fascinating that they just stumped him. And I love it too. Paul McCarthy's he was talking about. He's just like, yeah, like we had a drummer and Ringo just came up there and played with us. He knew somebody. We looked at each other. Yeah, this is the guy. So like, it's just like you know, that's why you never let anybody take your place, man. You know. You're always be replaceable. You can't miss work.
That was Brady's thing, right? Like I can't miss a practice because like, that might be the time I lose my job. We lose Mike. He's
frozen. Oh,
no,
he's back.
there we go.
Am I back?
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
I was just gonna ask you about your boy Axl. You got into music. I was gonna ask you about your boy Axl Rose taking on the Treasury Secretary.
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm glad. I mean, because
you know, you pretty much guarantee like Axl getting political. I mean, that's what I know him for, right? Is, you know,
well, I would assume the IRS is
he's up to date on current events, and
I figure the IRS is gonna rip him to shreds, like, you know, next tax season. Yeah, far be it for me to stick up for the Treasury Secretary over a rocker, but I mean, my bad blood with Axl Rose goes way back. And what is it like? Your enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, right. There we go. I'm on his side because it goes way back with Axl Rose and me, man. I'll never forgive him. I'll never go see those guys anymore.
He stood you up, right? Like, yeah.
He stood me up in Foxborough in 1990, 91, I think. So.
What do you mean stood you up? Like we
supposed to go in concert with Metallica, and then I was all ready to go in the morning, and he cancels the morning of the show. And I was pissed. My buddy said he got a van from his friend. We're all taking a van up to Foxborough, and it was a whole plan. And he canceled. And I was so pissed. Like, I never forget. Like, they rescheduled. I never went. I don't even know if they must have rescheduled it, but like I built like it was like Dazed and Confused. Like, number one priority this summer was this concert, and I waited, and then he canceled, and I got so pissed. And I vowed I hated that guy ever since. I like the band. I still like the band, and certainly their first album, but I just won't go see him anymore. So when they
could have been worse. At least he gave you the respect of canceling beforehand.
At least he didn't get there.
Not showing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, well, maybe I'm a little harsh, Ryan. Maybe I should rethink my Cold War with Axl Rose.
I feel like it's time to forgive. You know, it's like a new world, Mike. This is, you know, we all need to, you know, it's been 30 years. I think you and Axl need to bury the hatchet now.
Well, I mean,
hell, if he and Slash can get back together, you and Axl can work it out.
Oh my God, I'm way more stubborn than Slash. And I'm not, and me making amends with Axl Rose, like, I'm not going to get paid like Slash did. Listen, I'm willing to come to the table and forgive if he reaches out to me first. Is that fair?
Yeah, I could take that.
All right. If he reaches out to me, you know, who knows? Maybe he'll be flipping through and he'll see this, and I'll get a tweet say, hey, you know what? I was kind of an asshole back in 90. I was a 30-year-old guy acting like the 2-year-old. I apologize that I ruined your summer. Please come see me in Vegas next year. I'm like, then I would forgive him. Because I will forgive, but you got to meet me halfway, man. I think that's fair.
I still haven't seen them, but
yeah, would it even be worth it at this point?
I heard they were pretty good. That was when they toured. I mean, Axl Rose is a pretty unique voice. Like, even when he was in his prime, it was a different kind of voice, but I would imagine the music's still pretty good. I mean, they're better than Van Halen was with David Lee Roth. I think I've seen him on TV a little bit, but I heard it was good. Everybody said it was good. Okay. And they do kick ass.
I mean, the music, you're right. The music would be great. It's like, I'd be concerned that Axl couldn't hack it at this point anymore.
No, but I heard he was okay. And I saw on TV.
Those are some tough notes. There's got some tough notes to hit.
I mean, you don't realize, like, he had a pretty unique voice, but those notes that he hit, like, I mean, it's a legendary rock voice. And I guess if you don't like it, it can be great, but it's like, it was unbelievable. Like, I don't think but I know they could probably change keys, maybe makes it a little bit lower, but I still think he like, from what I've heard just online, which is, usually a little bit better live than what people say. It's not like David Lee Roth, where David Lee Roth could never really sing, and he doesn't know the words. Like, at least Axl Rose is getting the words and everything, Like, it's not like, who was like, David Lee Roth was opening up for somebody in Vegas. And it's like, dude, like Shameless, that guy went up there. I see some of his video when I forget who he was opening up for in Vegas. It's an 80s band that's still pretty good, that could still play well. But he was doing the same thing then. How do you not know the words? Like, I mean, it's one thing if your voice isn't great, you can't do the moves. But I mean, you want to talk about a big F you to the fans if you just can't remember the words. I mean, it's freaking Panama. It's not like a Bob Dylan song. You know what I mean? Like, Bob Dylan songs are like 7 minutes of lyrics. I mean, like, I can learn the Van Halen catalog in an hour if I don't know it already. But he can't. Like, is that crazy?
Bob Dylan is a snooze. I could never get into him.
No, if you memorize, it's like learning American Pie, right? It's like, I get it. If you have to sing 10 of those songs, I'll give you a break. But Van Halen, like, most of the time, you just
learn it just through. You'd think you'd learn it just through the osmosis of being on stage every other night, right?
Hey,
you
hear the songs enough.
You just you say you don't know until you begin. I mean, it's like, can't you see me standing here? I got my back against the record machine. I mean, Jesus. I mean, in its own right, it's very poetic and it's great, but we're not talking Shakespeare here. Memorize the lines for your fans. I don't know. Pisses me off when you drop in 200 for a ticket and the guy doesn't. I mean, it's not a lot to ask. I mean, he's not that old,
I was gonna ask Tracy, what's your double bubble idea?
Oh, the double bubble. My friend came up with that. So we've all been kind of separated. So if they haven't really interacted with anyone and we haven't really interacted with anyone, it's kind of like a safety. I mean, if you wear a mask still or whatever, still maintain your social distance, but it's okay to maybe meet up at a park or something or in a backyard. And then like you start to close your circle. So the pods thing is you just get like a couple of people that you trust and know that they've probably not been out at risk of infection.
Yeah.
You can build your little circle of like, 2 or 3 pods so that you can slowly start to have a social life again.
See, like, I need to do that because this is like not, I just, like I mentioned in the text, like, I don't need everything to be fully open. And I understand, like, you can't, I mean, it's crazy, but I don't need beaches or restaurants to be totally open, but I just don't want to feel guilty if I have a couple friends over or we go hang out in a backyard or you're like, it's just, how much longer can this be?
Well, as soon as it gets night, like if it's like the last weekend was great. It was nice enough to go outside and, my wife and I just sat outside with the dog for a while and like you see people moving around and feels like kind of back to normal. You get snow on May 9th. It's a little different, but like Tracy, I think you've got the right idea with like, let's build our little our outdoor sanctuary here. Like Kristen, you've got like the roof deck, right? Where you can kind of go up.
Like people don't have to come in here, but they can still come over and we can go upstairs or like my parents' house. Like I have been going to my parents' house and just like hang out in the backyard. Just, my dad's grilling or something. I'll have go up for a burger or something, but that's kind of it. And it's like, I just want to be able to like do that with a couple friends or like maybe go to their house and have a fire. Like but like everyone's still kind of, it's like, oh, you can't do that yet. And like, I don't know what's right and what's wrong anymore. And like,
I'm not the same because like, I don't know if I want people in my house, but I'm okay. Like I live across the street from 2 big baseball fields and I go over there and I meet my friend and her kid and we stay a distance, but it's like you're having interaction with adults. I have a kid, so they're interacting so that they're not caged animals. Like I feel like I'm a caged animal sometimes.
Right. I feel like if you're taking the proper precautions and you haven't really interacted with anyone, I mean, I don't see what
Yeah. As long as you're
But-
staying away from everybody, it's like you can hang out with people. It's like I can have a conversation
haven't
with
gone
somebody
to-
from 10 feet away. There's no issue with
Like,
that.
Tracy, I'll see you tomorrow.
Right. And I would feel comfortable having you over. Like, it was not snowing. You could sit in my backyard and with my drink cooler when it comes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
Now, there's some people in our neighborhood that have done, they've actually got their fire pit. They put it out in the street. They live on like a court. They put it out in the middle of the street, and the neighbors go out there and everybody kind of sits in their section of the fire, fire pit far enough away from everybody. And like, that's cool. You can do that.
Tomorrow we're going, there's 4 girls that live by me and we're all have 1 kid. And so we're going to go, there's bleachers at this baseball field. And so we're going to sit in the bleachers with a coffee mug and socialize tomorrow night. Like, socially, that's going to be like the biggest group, like 4 of us. So I only do it with 1 other person, but now there's 2 other people joining. So I feel like I'm kind of feeling a little risky, but I mean, you got to do it.
I have to do it. Today I got to I'm pretty like positive and like I've been doing like, trying to be optimistic about everything. And this morning I just woke up and I was, laying in bed and I'm rolling over from one side to the other, checking my phone on my nightstand, then rolling over, grabbing a drink of water and just like laying there. And I'd say to myself, I'm sick of this. Like, I'm tired. I literally said out loud to myself, I can't do this anymore. I'm just rolling back and forth. Like Joe Murray's just sitting there. I'm just laying there. Like, I'm just laying there.
Hey, just real quick before we have to wrap up, I was looking at the chat on the YouTube channel. Somebody said, I think I could be wrong, but I think Travolta could have been the lead in Forrest Gump.
No way.
Oh,
Can you imagine?
God.
Can you imagine? Like, first of all, I think that's one of the most overrated movies that's ever existed. I'm not a fan of it at all. But can you imagine if John Travolta tried to be Forrest Gump? Like that would make it so much more hysterical.
Well, that's when Forrest Gump came out. That's kind of like when he had his like rejuvenation. I'm talking about Travolta, remember? Because like
it was the same year as Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, and then he had like but he had like a bunch of other movies right around down there, like Broken Arrow, I think a few other ones.
Broken Arrow, yeah.
But he had like a few more too. Michael, remember he was like the angel, and he was like a fat drunk angel.
Talking movies.
Look Who's Talking.
I used to like those ones.
Yeah. So he started probably like at the time, if you're like, oh yeah, Travolta, he's hot. Like, but now looking back at it, you'd be like, what? How? Yeah, that movie to me is. I tried to watch it. I've seen it once in my life from beginning to end, and I tried to watch a little bit the other day. It was on TV, and I couldn't do it. Like, I don't think it's that good. But Tom Hanks is good. I'm starting to have a new appreciation of Hanks. I was kind of like, I thought he was a little overrated, but I saw like the one where he played Mr. Rogers, and I've seen a couple other movies. Like we just watched Big the other day, like with the kids. He was good in that. So I'm starting to get a new appreciation with him, but like Travolta in that role would have not worked.
I can't see it.
Would not have worked at all.
No.
But yeah, that's
Hanks,
what I'm saying.
Best all around actor of our generation, like Hanks.
Yeah.
Because it's like the guy can do comedy, he can do
everything.
drama, he can host, he's hosted Saturday Night Live like a
he's hosted,
dozen times or whatever it is at this point. Yeah, he hosted it from home the other day.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to get wrapped up so we can turn the channel over to, I think it's Marshall Hook and Tucker Silva, maybe. I don't.
Right.
So good to see you all, and hope you're all well, and hope we get a nice week so that we can all get outside and not.
It's actually, I didn't see any snow, so I don't know.
It's freezing out.
It was snow. It's like 50 mile an hour wind
41 degrees and really windy.
with a wind chill of 30.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
great. I didn't know that. It looks sunny out from what I can tell.
Oh, it's sunny.
And
It's sunny, but it's freezing.
great.
All right, have a good week, guys.
All right. See ya.
Bye.